Great Debaters Contest is brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.
Coming to you straight from Strathmore University, welcome to the Nationals of the Great Debaters Contest. We have had an eventful year that has culminated in these debates. I am your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Yombok. As the Great Debaters Contest, we always do the impossible, bringing you Limuru girls versus Kapsabet boys. Their motion is mobile banking will phase out traditional banking in Africa.
We'll let the debaters take the stage now. First proposer, you have 3 minutes to wow us.
My name is Leroy Gitonga Gontai from Kapsabet Boys High School. Mobile banking will phase out traditional banking in Africa is today's bone of contention. Let me tell you something. What is mobile banking? Mobile banking is a service provided by banks and financial institutions which allow their users to carry out financial transactions via their mobile phones. Phasing out, it refers to the systematic doing away with something that has become obsolete, defunct, and completely a white elephant. While traditional banking refers to something that all of us are very much familiar with. It refers to the retail banking, branch-based system, where you need to have an account to be able to access financial services. Mobile banking is a new animal in the African financial savannah. Mobile banking is a new gospel, a new financial gospel being adopted into the African economic paradigms. And it has telecommunication technology as its John the Baptist. Why do I say so? Because mobile banking will continue to flourish as long as telecommunication technology flourishes. And let me tell you, telecommunication technology is a rolling stone that is gathering no moss. This is according to Information Technology Union statistics, which show that by 2007, there were 271 million mobile phone owners. Now, there are 570 million mobile phone owners, and that number is projected to be 970 million mobile phone owners by 2019. Now you see this rapid adoption of mobile phones, of feature phones, of smartphones and online telecommunication technology. It has positive inclinations to mobile banking. Well, I have mentioned that mobile banking is a new animal in the financial savannah. There are factors that collude to make sure that this animal survives in this savannah. And one of them is the competitiveness of financial institutions. There are financial institutions like banks and telecommunication service providers that have they have responded to the stimuli of competition, avidly introducing these services. And one of them is M-Pesa, Safaricom, by introducing M-Pesa. Now, M-Pesa has been driven by competition and the bid to provide better services. In its inception in 2007, in the first 3 months, there are 300,000 users. That number rose to 1.2 million in 6 months. And currently, 19 million out of 44 million people use M-Pesa. I will leave you with a quote from former Vodafone CEO, Arun Sarin, who says, mobile banking, if properly managed, will be able to provide services to millions of people who are otherwise locked out from the conventional banking services. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes for your opening arguments.
Old is gold. A common saying from our British brothers and sisters. From the Limuru Girls' School, Sharon Wamunga vehemently opposing the motion that states, mobile banking will phase out traditional banking in Africa. First and foremost, mobile banking cannot phase out traditional banking. Why? Because traditional banking has actually partnered with mobile banking facilities in order to provide services. In the year 2010, the Central Bank of Kenya set up a regulation which enabled traditional banks to actually utilize mobile banking services in order for them to have a wider range of service. And this led to the birth of M-Kesho, which is a partnership between Equity and M-Pesa, and also a partnership between M-Pesa and Barclays Bank. So let's be realistic. Mobile banking can actually not phase out traditional banking. And oh, I forgot. Banking is actually a business activity that involves depositing cash, withdrawal of cash, saving, credit, and also debit facilities. To phase out is to actually do away with something gradually over a period of time. Traditional banking is the use of banking in physical banks such as the Kenya Commercial Bank, the Cooperative Bank of Kenya, and mobile banking is banking using mobile phones. Secondly, you cannot make transactions with large amounts with mobile banking. It was recently that my aunt, Mama Kadogo, fell sick, critically sick, and she had to be admitted to the ICU, which actually cost us about 700,000 shillings. We went to an M-Pesa agent, and we were told, and I quote, "Hakuna float." Float is just the money that you use to actually withdraw cash. But in a traditional bank, you can actually withdraw that 7,000 shillings and pay for my aunt, and she was admitted with immediate effect. Thirdly, traditional banks have higher interest rates of up to 16%, whereas the mobile banking has low interest rates of 2%. Okay, let's take, for example, you have 5,000 shillings. In a traditional bank, you will have 5,800 shillings by the end of the year. But then, in mobile banking, you'll only have raised, let's say, 100 bob, having 5,100. We all want our money to grow. Personally, I want my money to grow. As we say, uchumi imepanda. So really, I can't go to a mobile banking facility to raise 5,100, whereas I can go to a traditional bank, get out with my 5,800, and therefore my money has grown. Thank you.
We'll now hear rebuttals. Proposition, you have 3 minutes.
My salutations to you all. From the Kapsabet team, I'm Shedrack Mokaya. Now, lovely Sharon, may I remind you that the said M-Pesa had introduced a new service termed as Lipa na M-Pesa. So actually, you need not cold cash to make deposits or even withdrawals. All you have to do, take your mobile phone, transact using the pay bill number of the station you're located, and everything will be sorted. Another thing, might I add that indeed, mobile banking will surely, trust you me, phase out traditional banking in Africa. Now, Sharon also said that it will not because there are partnerships. Yes, I do agree, but let us not constrain ourselves to Kenya alone. What works in one country cannot work in another. We do not have the guarantee. Like she said, in Nigeria, just to confirm to you, in Nigeria, in the year 2010, the Central National Bank of Nigeria was chosen to spearhead introduction of mobile banking. However, upon foreseeing the huge amounts of profits that were projected, this is what they did. They excluded telecommunication structures out of the project. They simply said no to Glo, that is their national telecommunication service, and no to other mobile telecommunication services. And do you know what? It flopped. It fell down under. Nothing happened. So you see, whether they take partnerships or not, the exclusion of these telecommunication industries and structures is still rampant in the entire Africa. Which brings me to another point. Now, one of the things that has amazed the entire world about Africans is its ability to stick to its beliefs and religious inclinations. And nothing can bring us so much closer than mobile banking. You wonder how? This is what happens in Egypt. Now, the higher population of Egypt are Muslims, and they have a religious principle called the halal. Now, in this principle, they believe that it is wrong for you to reap where you did not sow, gaining interest for money that you have not worked for. And thus, in Egypt, traditional banks have lost their grip on the citizens of Egypt, such that only 10% of the entire nation is banked. And this minute percentage has to be shared among 39 banks. Now, let me take you to the savannas of Africa. Imagine 20 hungry lions feeding on one deer. None will be satisfied. But you see, our Superman for the day, mobile banking, wearing an S, or rather an M on their chest, simply because mobile banking offers our Muslim brothers and sisters the opportunity to save their money without the fear that it is not halal. And you want to tell me that such a software, such a system that has been able to be so fluid to penetrate the religious membranes of our continent cannot take over? Seriously, you must be joking. Lastly, there is this notion that mobile banking is not secure. In this age where security comes first, let me assure you, mobile banking carries the day. Do you know why? Because it is so fluid. It is Africa's version of our shapeshifter, changing different forms depending on the different devices. Now, this has made it so difficult for the hackers I say, because they cannot keep track of such an evolving system. And mind you, this is Africa, and I am proudly black, but logically, don't we have more muggers than we will have hackers? Ryan will take you further. Thank you.
Opposition will hear your rebuttal. You have 3 minutes.
Our world is on a constant evolutionary path, the path to improvement. However, we must not forget that along the way, we must be careful. Opposing the motion which states that mobile banking will phase out traditional banking in Africa, I am Noel Bonga from the Limuru Girls' School. Point of correction to our opposers. We are not shooting down the idea of having mobile banking. Now, you have told us that mobile banking is dependent on the mobile networks. However, I would like to enlighten you that it does not depend on the mobile networks alone. The banks must be there. I'd like to draw a case from the local scenario here. For the M-Pesa to be involved in the banking activities, the Central Bank of Kenya had to allow it, meaning it had to give the charter and the mandate for Safaricom to work with the local banks. Had this not happened, had there not been this partnership, then unfortunately, this would not have taken place. Secondly, you have mentioned countries where halal is posing a threat to banking. However, I would like to remind you that there are banks which deal with this. They are banks that specifically cover such measures so that their customers are assured that as they are banking, they do not run any risks. On to my first point. Traditional banking offers better credit facilities. Suppose you'd like to go and get involved in a certain venture and you need some money. Can you approach the mobile banking platform for a loan? When you go to the traditional banking system, you can offer them your possessions as collateral, ranging from the logbook to your car to the title deed to your land. That way, you are able to secure a large amount of money. If you'd like to, say, put up apartments, go right ahead. The channel is free for you. Why? Because traditional banking offers better credit facilities. Secondly, investment. Traditional banking offers you a broader perspective when it comes to investment. I do not believe that you can go to a mobile banking platform and get the funds and the ability to invest. We have stepped away from the crops and the agricultural sector, and we are now moving to infrastructure, more so real estate. We have heard of the KCB mortgage loan, whereby if you want to put up your home, walk into the branch and access the forms, and voila, you have your home. This is not the case with mobile banking. It does not offer you the same advantages. Therefore, I believe that we should tread carefully and we should be wise. Let us not phase out either of them. Let them work together for the betterment of Africa. Thank you.
Safaricom Sabera, that changes forever. M-Pesa Sabera, that changes forever.
Yo, you got to enter, comfort and test it. Safaricom Sabera, sending money no pressure. To what M-Pesa? And if you don't believe, comfort and test it.
Unakopa M-Pesa, kulipa ni M-Pesa.
Safaricom Sabera, that changes forever.
Take part in the M Challenge by sending your short song, rap, or poem about Safaricom M-Pesa on WhatsApp, and you could win 1,000 shillings in Safaricom airtime.
The proposition have been asked who will be in charge of regulating mobile banking, because for traditional banks we have bodies such as the CBK, and the opposition have been challenged on why they are terming M-Pesa as a mobile banking platform, yet it's a money transfer service. We'll have them respond to the questions. Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ryan Meroka, Kapsabet High School. I've been asked a very simple question. Who's going to regulate mobile banking services? That's simple. In Malaysia, the providers of mobile banking came together and formed a commission to regulate mobile banking services. So it's going to be simple. In Africa, our providers are going to come together and bring up a commission. Apart from that, we have the CCK. The CCK, that's in Kenya. The CCK can also take part in that. That answered. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in Africa. In Africa. I'm an African, but sadly enough, most Africans are poor. With 80% of Africans unbanked, they do not have an allegiance to traditional banking. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa is a continent we are developing. And we all know that in developing countries, we have money crisis. Everyone in this hall today, every day is on his or her toes to make money. CNB Africa once heard a story of Martha, a Nigerian market seller. She sells minerals to expectant mothers. The cash that she gets from that business is too low. Despite there being a bank in a neighborhood, her problem still remains. Having the time to walk to the bank, make a long queue in the bank and deposit the money. So what she did is, she contacted Diamond Bank in Nigeria that provides mobile banking services. So what happens is, an agent from the bank visits her stall every day, takes the cash from her, sends the cash to the bank through a mobile phone. She gets an SMS shortly confirming the transaction and the balance that she has. That has made it simpler for her. It is not only for the poor people like Martha. Look at the business gurus that we have in Africa. They don't have the time to waste. In Africa, we are running after our economy. We don't have the time to stick to traditional banking. Ladies and gentlemen, traditional banking is still putting us in the stone age of finance. Let us get out of that stone age. In Africa, we have this attitude of accepting change. Christianity came, we took it in. Islam came, we took it in. We made it ours. Mobile banking has a place in Africa. And it is in Africa to stay. I rest my case. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to answer the question.
Tout est bien, qui finit bien. A French wise saying that is translated as, all's well that ends well. My name is Charlene Ohito from Limuru Girls School, and I'm here to answer the question. So now, my brother from Aga Khan, you asked why we constantly refer to M-Pesa, yet it's not a mobile banking service. Now you see, M-Pesa over time has diversified. You see, these mobile banking services are intertwined, and there are services such as M-Kesha and M-Shwari. Where do they stem from? M-Pesa. And now, my brother, it is no longer the CCK. It is nowadays known as the Communication Authority of Kenya, CAK. You see, traditional banking provides trusteeship services. Now, this is whereby money in a person's account is kept until such a time when it is given to the person's next of kin. This is possible even up to 4 generations down the line. Now, you see, with such an essential service as this, traditional banking cannot be phased out by mobile banking. Traditional banking is here to stay. Traditional banking is as well safer. I mean, look at M-Pesa, for example. I will refer to it again. Provided I know your PIN, provided I'm aware of your PIN, the money in your account is as good as mine. But what about with traditional banking? There has to be physical presence of the person for the money to actually be withdrawn. Now, with your money in the bank account, in the traditional bank account, it is definitely safer. Also, traditional banking is better suited for group savings. So take, for example, if the 6 of us decide to form a chama, as they are usually called, will our money be safer with an M-Pesa agent or at the bank? You see, for us to withdraw this money from the bank, there has to be signatures from at least 3 of us. But if this money is in my M-Pesa account, I can do with it as I please. I can misappropriate it because, after all, it is registered under my name. And maybe by the time the other members realize it, the money is gone. Also, traditional banks have better customer care services. Take, for example, Equity Bank. When you go there, first of all, you're offered a seat as your problem is being handled. With mobile banking, how many times have you tried calling customer care and actually reached them? Personally, 0 times. But you see, with mobile banking, you are treated right. I mean, who does not want to be treated well? You see, traditional banking has been there, is still there, and will continue to be there in the future, with or without the presence of mobile banking. So there's no way that mobile banking is going to phase out traditional banking in Africa. Thank you.
We'll now hear final statements from both teams, beginning with the proposition. You have 1 minute.
Good people of Africa, Eastern Africa especially, has been in a frenzy of late for the past few weeks, and the hashtag is, what would His Excellency Magufuli do? Now, here's what I think he will do. Personally, Magufuli will take his phone, send money to his bank account, use his mobile money for transactions because it is cheaper, and as we all know, he's an economist. He has cut down the economy, the spending in Tanzania in just a few weeks. So that's what Magufuli will do. But do not take it from me alone, neither from the very good president, but a survey, annual CEO Global Survey 2014. These are the creme de la creme of the companies that you see. Companies that handle banks themselves and mobile banking. Here's what they said. Unanimously, and I repeat, unanimously, by 2025, traditional banks will be wiped out. And you want to stand here and tell us that they'll still survive? It's impossible. We do agree there are services that are not in mobile banks, but innovations and Africa are a very good couple. We can put more innovation into mobile banking, and trust you me, it shall phase out, it will phase out, it must phase out traditional banking. Thank you.
Opposition, you have a minute as well.
Africa has done a commendable job. It has covered centuries worth of development goals in merely decades, and that is commendable, truly. However, we must tread carefully. We are not trying to shoot down the idea that mobile banking is good for Africa or that it is progressing and actually propelling us forward. What we are trying to say is that traditional banking should not go down the drain, just like that. These two entities need to work hand in hand if Africa is supposed to go to the next level. Traditional banking and mobile banking can coexist. They have coexisted in the past, and this can continue. For Africa to develop, we need both of them. Surely, it is a colossal mistake to mix old wine and new wine. As we all know, the result is simply disastrous. However, you will find that mixing old wisdom and new wisdom produces a rather desirable effect. Thank you.
To Kapsabet boys, I loved the metaphor of the wild. I think it was mentioned by Gitonga and also Shadrach. And Meroka, you have a unique style. I enjoyed your presentation. Limuru girls, to Shalin, I just have a question. All is well that ends well. What is the place of that statement in the motion? Because your introduction must have relevance to the motion. Is it true? Yeah, so when you said all is well that ends well, I was looking for the connection, but it was missing, unless I'm the one who didn't get it. And finally, to Noel, there is a sly allusion to Bertolt Brecht, if I'm not wrong. The issue of old wisdom, old wine, old wisdom, new wisdom, to show that we need to merge the two. It was very witty, and I credited you for that. To the two teams, it was a good presentation, let me say. I loved your style, but you can still make our styles better next time. Good debate.
The judges awarded Limuru girls with 73%. Please give them a round of applause. Kapsabet High School, the judges saw it fit to award you 75%. You are our winners for the debate.
Congratulations are in order. Thank you and bravo to both teams for such a well-informed, well-researched debate. We hope to see them both in the final debate. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Safaricom M-Pesa and KBC Channel 1. Thank you for watching. I have been your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyambok. Catch you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest was brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.